So, my father is standing silent while my stepmom throws me out of my house. I mean, literally, not entirely on the streets, but they want me to go and live in the guest house. I mean, are you out of your mind? I grew up in this house. You're not going to kick me out of my childhood bedroom. Also, my stepsister can get it, 'cause it's a little bit bigger. Hello, news flash, I'm the one that lived here for years. Well, guys, this story is really sticky. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? What would you do if you're uprooted from the one place that you've known all your life, and no one even stands with you when your so-called family, who are supposed to be your backbone, end up being the very reason that your life has turned into a mess? Well, this is what's happened to me lately. So here I am, ranting about my life story to strangers on the internet. I'm Ivy, and my stepmother, Rosal, has kicked me out of my own childhood home for her seemingly perfect daughter, my stepsister, Layla. And that's not the worst part of it all, guys. I expect such things from Rosalie and Layla after all. This is what they've been treating me like since the day that they came into my life. But the worst part of all this is that even my father Arthur did not stand by me. He supported his wife and stepdaughter, and to me, this felt like a betrayal of my trust, because my dad is the only person I ever considered my family after my mother died. Even with Rosalie and Layla's presence, I was certain that my dad would be by my side no matter what. So after years of tolerating Rosalie and Layla for the sake of my dad's happiness, his not supporting me came rather as a shock. Let me start from the very beginning about how this ill treatment started in the first place. I guess it's important for you guys to know the context and just be able to realize what kind of people Rosalie and Layla are. So let's go 7 years back. We lost my mother in a very tragic accident, and after her death, both father and I found ourselves the most vulnerable. Naturally, we became each other's only support. I was just 16 back then, yet I took it upon myself to take care of my dad and help him keep up with the business. Though I could not work in his company at such a young age, I just helped him with the little things like the organization of the documents and helping him with ideas to remodel this company's website, stuff like that, to attract new clients and similar stuff. We were happy and enough for each other for 4 years until my father decided to marry one of his college friends whom he reconnected with after Mom died. So that's how Rosalie and her daughter, Layla, came into my life, almost unexpectedly. I was a bit taken aback because all of a sudden my family of 2 was brought to 4, but I was not really against it. I was happy for my dad's second chance at love, so I welcomed both Rosalie and Lee with open arms. But obviously that didn't help, since the moment they stepped into my house, they came with a sense of bitterness and jealousy. For me, it was almost like Rosalie came with a mind to replace me in my own home, but I knew my father would not let that happen. So all throughout these 4 years, I tried to keep my distance from them, but me trying to keep my distance did not mean that they would leave me alone. Oh no, Rosalie made sure to create trouble for me at each chance that she got, and she used to do petty things like make breakfast with peanuts, 'cause I'm allergic and would have to skip breakfast almost every day in a hurry to catch my bus. She even tried to mix my clean and dirty clothes so that I'd have to wash them again. And that's how. She just liked creating new messes for me to clean out. My dad, busy with his woods business, was oblivious to all the things happening at the house. To him, we were almost like a happy little family. You must be thinking, why have I never told Dad the truth, about his new family? Well, call me stupid, but I saw my dad happy after a very long time, so I did not want to be the reason to disrupt that happiness, And anyways, I thought it was not something I could not handle alone, right? But this was my mistake, because slowly as the months passed, my dad started growing distant from me and closer to his new family. I started feeling left out, but I tried to cope with it, hoping that it'd get back to normal someday. It really felt like it was better now when last year my dad offered me a job position at his company once I completed my graduation. I've always been an active part in suggesting changes in his company according to the latest business trends, and my father had always admired that about me. So it was a no-brainer that he wanted me to join his company as a permanent employee because he knew with my business degree I could do wonders for the company. I was happy because not only was this a stepping stone in my career, but it was also a chance to be closer to my father. Things went well for a year, and Dad seemed to be on my side until recently when my dad stood silent while Rosalie threw my stuff out from the room that I lived in all my life. So let me come to the reason why Rosalie did that. As I already mentioned, she did it for her darling daughter Layla. Layla had been living with her boyfriend Jamie for the past few months, and well, I was the happiest person when she decided to move out a few months back. She was a complete nightmare when she used to live in the same house as me, and she used to humiliate me in front of her rich friends. At that time, she even tried to steal the guys that I was interested in. So you could say Lila was the classic evil stepsister. That's why when she moved in with Jamie and left the house, I could not have been happier. Since then, I had to see very little of Leela as she just came to visit for dinner and stuff. Also, another thing to note is after Lila left, her room was changed into a home office for my father. So now, whenever Lila came to stay for a day or two, she would stay in the tiny guest room that we had. There had been no problem with the whole setting until recently. So it turns out that Leela recently broke up with Jamie because he lost his job. Poor guy, he just got dumped because he lost a job. It was a crazy reason to break up with someone, and it just implies that Layla was with him until he could provide with luxuries and stuff and then dumped him when he had no means to do that. Well, that wasn't my problem. My problem started when Layla decided to move back into our house. I'm not saying she doesn't have a right to stay here or anything. Obviously, she can live here. I mean, her mother married my father, and she can call this house as much hers as I can call it mine. But I guess you could say the real trouble arose when Rosalie told me to vacate my room so that her perfect daughter could have a bigger room and be more comfortable. So she just could not stand the fact that her daughter would live in the small room, and I quote, "the tiny crap hole for a guest." Yeah, wow. And what was the solution for this? Was she expected to get my room and Lila would move into the tiny guest room? Like, does it even make sense to you guys? I mean, think about it. Living in a guest room in my own house, how stupid does that sound? So naturally, I said no to Rosalie's suggestion, and she started the whole drama of how Leila needed the support, and she just came out of a serious relationship and all crap stuff like that. Firstly, it was Layla who broke up, so it must be harder on Jamie, who seemed like a good guy from all the dinners that we met him at. Secondly, I get that Layla was in a tough spot, but why do? I have to give up my room for that. I was firm on my decision to not give up my childhood room for anything, but that's when things got really ugly. After 2 days of trying to convince me to give my room away to Leila, Rosalie decided to take things into her own hands. So, after 2 days of the whole discussion, when I came back from the office, I found all my stuff lying outside of the main hall. When I made it to my room, I found that Leila had already settled in and shifted all her stuff there. Well, I was furious. I straightaway went to Rosalie to ask what the hell's going on, but she simply answered that it was all my fault, and that this was all happening simply because I was the one not ready to give my room away to my stepsister when she needed it. So I, quote, forced Rosalie to take the drastic step. My anger was getting the best of me, but I still decided to keep calm and tell Rosalie that I talked to Dad about it. She was confident that Dad would support her, but knowing my dad all these years, I had faith in him. We might have had a bit of distance over the years, but I knew that he would never let anything so cruel happen to me. As you already know, my faith was shattered when my dad came home, and I told him about the entire thing. He only told me that Rosalie was right and I was being unreasonable, not trying to understand the pain that Layla was in. He went on talking about how Leila needed our support and all that made-up stuff that Rosalie told me 2 days ago. Guys, it was clear. My dad, being a fool in love, was only saying what Rosalie told him to say. And to say that I was hurt would be an understatement. That man was supposed to be my support system, and to see him stand against me when I needed his support the most, well, that broke my heart. After all this humiliation I faced at the hand of my stepmom, I knew that I could not stay in that same house as her and her daughter anymore. This was my father's house, but at the moment it felt more like Rosalie's husband's house. I just felt out of place in my own darn home. So I left last night. After all the mess, I left and asked one of my friends if I could crash at their place. Well, that's where I'm staying currently, and my mind is a complete disaster, as you guys can probably imagine. The worst part was that my dad did not even try to stop me. I'm hurt by my father's actions more than Rosalie's humiliation, and I'm hurt that my father betrayed my trust. Now, I don't even know what to do. I mean, should I go back and fight for what is rightfully mine? Or should I just cut all these people out from my life and move on, building a new life? But even after all that happened, I don't have the courage to go through with the second option, as it's not that easy. I can't let everything go so easily because I'd have to face my father daily since I work at his company, and losing a job and a roof over my house at the same time is something I can't allow to happen. So here I am, left wondering what should I actually do. That's why I'm seeking help from you guys. If you have any suggestions or advice for me, I would appreciate it. You know, I might update you guys about the whole situation once the mess is a bit more clear. Until then, goodbye. Let's hope that I can figure out what to do. Next update. Number 1. Hey guys, I know it's been, a week since my initial post, and you won't believe what happened this 1 week. Like the crazy truth I came to know might just change the whole course of this mess. But before we get to that, let me tell you how crappy things have been at work. So as I mentioned in my last post, I left my house, and I'm currently staying with a friend, but I still had to see my father daily. Honestly, it's been pretty awkward. The funny part is my dad didn't even try to talk to me when it should have been me who was ignoring him. It was actually the reverse case, as he was trying to ignore me. And all of these things were just a daily reminder of how my father did not support me at the time when I needed him the most. But I guess this is my life and what it's become now. Before going on about the crazy truth, I want to address some comments. When I needed support, you guys were there for me, so I just want to present my gratitude to the kind people who gave me the strength to actually reach a decision of fighting for what's truly mine. Yeah, I've decided I won't let this whole thing go easy, and I'm going to fight for it. And well, to all the haters calling me a spoiled brat, I guess you've never been in a situation where something very dear to you was taken away. In this case, not only did I lose my childhood room, but also the family I counted on, so it's natural for me to feel angry. Now, getting back to the point, I've decided to fight back. Within a day or two after my original post, I was thinking about how should I do that when the perfect opportunity just presented itself. 2 days back, I coincidentally ran into Jamie, Layla's ex-boyfriend, at a marketplace. We hadn't known each other much because we only met at the family dinners, yet I felt bad for the poor guy. So when I saw him there, I broke into a conversation about whether he found another job or not. The guy was confused. I went on to apologize for how Layla broke up with him and asked him that, he must be feeling bad at this point. Jamie was furious and asked me if Layla had been telling people that she broke up with him. I told him the whole story, and it was my turn to be confused because Jamie tells me that it was all a lie. He still has a good job. So I just prodded some more to get to know what was actually going on, and Jamie, like a volcano waiting to erupt, just let out all the truth in detail. So it turns out it was not Layla who broke up with Jamie, but in reality, Jamie broke up with Layla and kicked her out of his home. Apparently, Layla's been cheating on him and was pregnant with some other guy's baby. I was so shocked. I expected bad things from Layla, but this was even beyond her. I couldn't believe that Layla's been hiding such a huge secret from all of us and was trying to gain sympathy from the family based on shallow lies. For the past 2 days, this is the only thing that's been on my mind. The way Jamie had been furiously, actually, it made it seem like it was the truth. But I had to be sure of it before I went to confront anybody, right? I've been thinking of ways to figure out how to find out the truth about the whole ordeal, and if what Jamie is saying is the truth, then who is the father of Layla's baby, you ask? I just have to unveil this truth because I might be my best bet to fight against Layla and her evil mother. But guys, right now, I'm sort of blank about the whole thing. I just came to update you guys about it since I didn't know a better way to calm my mind, and maybe you guys can suggest ways of how I can unveil the whole truth. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's me again. I know it's been a few weeks since my last update, but hear me out. If you thought my last update was crazy, just wait, because things I found out this past few weeks are even crazier. So after I found out the story about how Layla broke up with Jamie because he lost his job might not be true, I decided to investigate a bit on my own. And by investigating, I mean I decided to follow her around. I know, sounds crazy, but what I found out after following her was worth the whole risk. Before I decided to follow her, I tried to get to know as much as I could about Layla's schedule, the people she met, because any of these could have been the baby's father. I tried to get these things out of a few friends of Layla whom I knew, but as you can imagine, it was a failed attempt. So I got to follow her. The first and second attempts were fruitless, and I was about to give up on the whole crazy idea. But during my third attempt, right? Oh boy, I saw Layla meeting this guy outside of a maternity clinic, and to my surprise, this guy was Raymond Clark, the owner of the rival company that has been competing against our company for years. I was shocked, and that too outside of a maternity clinic. Just as I was trying to figure my thoughts out, Raymond handed something to Layla and left. Layla went inside the maternity clinic. So was it true? Layla was really pregnant, and could it be that Raymond was the father? Like, what other logical explanation could there be for this crazy rendezvous? But I still had my doubts, and I'm still trying to figure it all out. But something really unexpected and shocking happened yesterday. Raymond's company had hinted the release of a new product. The crazy part was that it was eerily similar to the product that we were just about to launch in a week's time. Well, it just seems like they completely stole our idea, and all of this is really, really fishy. My dad is really furious about the whole thing, and we're trying to figure out how this could have even happened. The fact that this happened days after I saw Layla with Raymond, it was absolutely too crazy to be a coincidence. It was possible someone has been stealing this confidential information from the company and sending it to Raymond's company. By the looks of how suspicious everything is, my best bet would be Layla. I mean, what if she's stealing the info from the company and selling it to Raymond? It's all just too crazy. I still don't know for sure if Raymond's the father of Layla's baby, and the discovery of this whole thing just makes it even more confusing. Are they involved together romantically, or are they just up to some fishy business? I've decided to take things into my own hands and figure out the whole thing on my own. Well, I wanted to start first with unveiling what's happening at the company, and I have a plan in place for that. Well, let's see how this all goes. Update number 3, I'm back. I know it's been about a week since my last update, but I just can't keep this in anymore. I have to tell you guys. So the truth is finally out, and I couldn't be even more ecstatic. Forgive me for my excitement, but I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me start from the beginning so that the whole thing is clear to you. As I told you guys after the crazy mess and the whole rival company stealing our idea fiasco, I decided to take matters into my own hands and try to track the system from which the information was leaked. It was obvious that whoever stole the information did a poor job, as that person missed the blueprint essential for the project to work, as it was password protected. So I told you guys I had a plan. According to my plan, we let some information out about the missing blueprint and made sure it reached the rival company. Knowing Raymond, I knew he would try to get it since the project was basically useless without it. Well, so whoever was Raymond's source, we bet it was Layla, would definitely try to get it now. So the whole thing was a well-thought-out bait plan, as I'd already replaced the real blueprint with the fake one. My hopes and suspicions just got true, and within 2 days, I found Layla suspiciously lurking in the office corridors around lunchtime when people were off their systems enjoying outside. It was suspicious enough for Layla to turn up at the company since she doesn't even work here, but she had sort of a lunchbox bag in her hand, and as funny as that sounds, that was her cover at that time. I remembered that she had been coming to the office a few times, getting home-cooked lunch for my dad. Well, now I know it was more than just for the lunch. Layla effortlessly made her way to the system I'd already tracked and got some information, supposedly the blueprint, on a pen drive. I've been surveilling it all on the CCTV camera monitor. By the way, once Layla left the office, I just followed her to a cafe where Raymond was sitting, waiting for her. And this time, I didn't need to hide. I had enough of the secret, so I decided to confront both Layla and Raymond straight at their face. As Layla approached Raymond, I came from behind, putting a look of shock on both of their faces. I straightaway went to confront Raymond, asking him what they were up to, and if he's blackmailing Layla for intel of our company. Well, I was furious at this time, and I saw Layla scared that her truth would be out in no time. And Raymond laughed and told me that Layla was doing all of it on her own accord, and he did not blackmail her. None of this was making sense to me, so I asked him what he meant. He tells me to ask that to my own stepsister. So that's what I did. Layla took me to the side, call it her fear of being caught or her vulnerability, and she let the whole truth out in front of me, crying her eyes out. And turns out she was indeed pregnant with Raymond's baby. She had met Raymond at a party and, crazy enough, decided to cheat on her boyfriend with him. But then she got pregnant and wanted money to get rid of the baby, since she wanted to keep the whole matter hush-hush. That was why she asked for Raymond's help, and he agreed, but on the condition that she'd be getting him information from my dad's company. I know it sounds so crazy, right? But she had been doing the whole thing for the past 2 months, so she had enough money to get rid of the baby and carry on with her life, like none of this happened. But things get messy when Jamie found out that she was pregnant with someone else's kid. He left her. Since then, she's been absolutely miserable. I mean, when she told her mother about the whole thing, Rosalie just told her to keep selling Raymond the info to get the money so they could get rid of the baby. I mean, it was crazy how even Rosalie was involved in this. Like the people my father chose over me were just deceiving him in his own home. Layla just cried and begged me not to tell anyone her secret, and it was just crazy, really, that she still expected some loyalty from me after she treated me like crap all of these years. I was no fool. I knew this was the perfect chance for me to get revenge for how I was wronged and how my father picked the wrong side. So I took a chance. I had recorded the entire thing, the conversation and everything, since the moment I stepped into the cafe, and I sent it all to my dad. Now I'm on the way to my childhood house, waiting for the hell to unleash. I'm writing this update from the Uber itself, and I'll update you guys on everything soon enough. Final update of the story. Hey guys, well, I'm sorry. I know it's been 2 months since my previous updates, and all of you are curious about what happened next. So here I am with probably the last update on the whole thing because I'm way beyond all that mess now. As I told you guys, I exposed Layla and Rosalie's secret in front of my father by sending him the recording of the whole conversation between Raymond, Layla, and me. Obviously, he was furious, so furious that by the time I got home, he was already shouting at Rosalie and throwing stuff out of the house. Soon enough, even Layla came home, only to be kicked out of the house by my father. Dad kicked both Layla and Rosalie out of the house, while announcing that he'd soon be divorcing Rosalie. All the while, both Rosalie and Leela kept begging him to have mercy, but I guess this betrayal had a bad blow on my dad since he was not ready to even let them explain their side of the story. That's how Leela and Rosalie ended up living in a crappy trailer on the outskirts of the town, since that's all they could afford with the little money that was left with them. Layla tried to get more money from Raymond, but since she was now of no use to him, and the last bit of information she got from him was useless, Raymond ended up costing her. Layla did not have enough money to go through with getting rid of the baby, as the little money she got from Raymond, she spent it all renting the trailer and meeting the basic necessities. I mean, she's still pregnant, and I guess she'll be going through with the pregnancy as she has no other possible opt. Guys, she's having a troubled pregnancy, so she's not able to work much. That's why her mother is the one trying to make the ends meet with the odd jobs. As for my father, he ended up apologizing to me. Don't think that he had a change of heart or anything. Oh no, he just apologized because he wanted my help. As Layla had told me earlier, she has been transferring confidential information from Dad's company to Raymond's for 2 months before getting caught. These 2 months were enough to put my father's comp into a huge loss, so due to this, a lot of investors pulled out. My father's literally in debt now that his company is on the verge of collapse. So 2 months back, when he realized this whole thing, he turned to me for help and apologized for not supporting me. But I'd be a fool if I helped him, because after what he put me through, he didn't deserve it. So instead of helping him, I ended up handing my resignation letter to him. Since then, he's just been taking loan after loan to pay off the debt and trying to revise his company, which, as you can imagine, is turning out to be a disaster. Lately, my dad's been into alcohol and was diagnosed with clinical depression. I feel bad for him, but he also has himself to blame for it. Well, after quitting my job at my dad's company, I soon got another job offer thanks to my business degree. Soon enough, I was able to save enough money to rent out a small 2-bedroom apartment on my own. I know it's not much compared to my father's big house, but at least I get to live a peaceful life